So that all comes from the same science. And regardless of which one it is, it tells us a little bit about ourselves. And that's interesting, but then what do you do with it, right? You walk away, you're like, oh, that was interesting, and you go on about your life. Nothing changed. But when I went to this True Colors class, something happened there, right? So I'm in this session, we do our assessments, and then we go to the table of our color. And well, True Colors has 4 colors: blue, green, orange, and gold. I love gold. And in that, it's just kind of an idea of we're all for the colors. No color is wrong or needs fixing, but we're going to lead with a certain color, and that's going to be what drives what we do, how we think about what we think about, and what we care about. And so after I took my assessment, I rated really high in the green orange and really low in the blue gold. And so to me, I was like, what does that even mean, right? So they sat me at the table with the greens, since that was my brightest color. And I'd always kind of just felt like an outcast growing up, and I'm sitting at this table of greens, not loving the fact I'm in the personality assessment workshop, right? And when they were asking these questions, it was like the people at my table were in my head. They were answering these questions verbatim of what I was thinking. I was like, oh, and I had a revelation. I'm not weird. I'm green. And I don't know if you guys remember Kermit, but he has a song about it's not easy being green. I'll tell you, it is not easy being green, but I bet it's not easy being any other color either. We all have to understand each other and ourselves and adapt to that. But in that moment, it helped me, because it helped me to realize that I am made like this on purpose, and I am who I'm supposed to be. I went further on, though, and I actually had the opportunity to get certified to teach True Colors. And I started teaching it to big corporations. And there were people in my sessions who were coming to forgiveness of family members they'd held a grudge against for 30 years. I mean, the walls were coming down. Bridges were being built. This was incredible. This was way bigger than building teams. And then, along that journey, I said, I can't do a workshop for everybody. How am I going to get this out? This is important. People need to know about this. So I ended up writing the book, Color by Design. And that is actually available today here, as well as anywhere books are sold online. And that's where testimonials started coming in. And I realized people are using this to parent their children. People are using this to amend relationships with their grandparents. Like, this is big. I had a couple that I worked with directly, and the spouse, the husband, came to the wife literally in the middle of the session, got on his knees in front of her and said, "Will you forgive me? I never understood that that's the way you think and operate, and I've been pushing against it our entire marriage." I mean, it was just, the things that were happening were absolutely incredible. But for me, it was really helpful, but it still wasn't my gold nugget. I was starting to have relationships now, which was great, but there was still somewhere it was stuck, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I ended up getting this amazing executive coach. He's actually the one who taught me how to coach others. And along that journey, didn't take very long. It was our first independent coaching session. He said, I watched you in the groups a couple times, and I need to tell you where you're stuck. He said, you are not in touch with your relationship, with your emotions. And I looked at him and I said, well, that's silly. I'm so self-reflective. There's no way I'm not in touch with my own emotions. He said, okay, well, I'm going to show you some examples. And he walked through 3 different examples of how I walked around my emotions. I logically explained my emotions, but I never used emotion words. And I said, okay, well, you got me. Yep, that sounds like something I would say. The nice thing, though, he didn't leave me there. He didn't leave me stuck in just knowing what the problem was. He walked me through it. And in just a couple of months, that was my gold nugget. In that moment, everything started to change. My relationships got rich. They got deep. They were powerful. And through that, I'll tell you, an entire world opened before me. But this is not about me. This is about you. And that's where, when we think about, your golden nugget moment, things are going to be able to shift. Now, that might not be the same focus area for you. You may have something else. But in a world that's so distracted, so divided, I want to be able to provide you a sense of community. And that's what this is all about. I want to equip you to go forward and really feel like you can accomplish, you can overcome, and you're not alone. Maybe you feel pulled in 10 different directions. Maybe you feel invisible. But I want to let you know that I want to see you. Not just look at you, but I want to really see you. So we're going to do an exercise in a minute. But when we think about relationships, even as we're thinking about these different areas, there's a lot of different types of relationships, right? There's relationship with yourself. There's a relationship with others. There's relationship maybe with your creator. And sometimes people even talk about relationship with their devices, right? But let me tell you something. People talk about, I've got a unhealthy relationship with my phone. You don't have a relationship with your phone. Your phone doesn't give you that sense of fulfillment. What you are using your devices for is to reach through that as a means of obtaining relationship. You're on there scrolling, reading articles, not because you're addicted to your phone, but because you're longing for that connection. And you're trying to use that device as a portal to get it. And so there's nothing wrong with connecting. I have amazing connections I've made through the use of electronics. But know that if you're stuck in relationships, the device is not the problem. There's something else, okay? So, with the roots that run so deep that keep us stuck, with me, it was my hurt from my childhood, right? That I'd locked away my heart. And I said, I didn't want to be in connection with my emotions because they can hurt. They aren't always happy emotions. But what I realized is that when I keep myself locked away, I also deprive myself from those amazing, rich relationships that come when you have access to your emotions, because then you let other people also access your emotions. Maybe that's not your root, and maybe your root's not based in a relationship at all, but those problems can affect our relationships. You ever have a day when you wake up and everything's going right, and you're like, this is my day. Yep, I am on it. This is going to be fire. This is going to be awesome. And then somebody cuts you off or gives you that friendly finger. You know what I'm talking about, right? Or maybe somebody in the office just gives you the look or says something just not nice, or a family member calls and gives you the whole rant about why their world is awful, and it just sinks you. Nothing changed in your life, right? Your life, everything is still the same. But it's that relationship of impact that has drawn you down. But the same thing is true on the flip side. You could have stubbed your toe first thing in the morning. Your dog ran off like mine did this morning, and you had to go chasing him through the parking lot or the neighborhood, right? All these things falling apart. But when you go to the grocery store, that person says, "Hi, you look so beautiful today," in the checkout line. Or you go over there and your friend calls you and says, "You know what, I was just thinking about you. You are so special to me." Or all of a sudden, your entire ruined day, it gets uplifted. And you feel different. And it's simply about the impact that relationship can have in our lives. That's why it's so important to pick good friends. Even while I was talking about the children and telling them, find people who are respectful to you and respectful to others. When we surround ourselves with people who are going to share that with us, we're going to have higher opportunities of having richer relationships that are providing that uplifting moment.